Hey there guys, welcome to the next video here on the channel. This is going to be the second Halloween themed tutorial for this year's Halloween, and I decided to make a kind of a Halloween hand puppet for this video. It's going to be kind of cool. I'm going to be using Oogie Boogie from the Nightmare Before Christmas as my model because he's a really cool character, and I think kind of a hand puppet with an actual character on it would be pretty cool. I'm going to be using a black duct tape and a little bit of glow-in-the-dark tape. I think you really can't make Oogie Boogie without using a little bit of glow-in-the-dark tape because he has that, that glow-in-the-dark kind of look to him in the movie. And so I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be making the actual puppet out of the black tape, but then I'm going to be covering it with the glow-in-the-dark tape. I'm just going to do that because it's really expensive, and it only comes in 10-foot rolls, so you definitely want to conserve it if you have it. So let's get started here on the tutorial. Alright, so what I did was I took a picture of Oogie Boogie, which I got off the internet. I just put it in a Word document and printed it out here. And the two reasons why I have this, one, to get kind of an idea of his body structure and how I'm making the hand puppet here, and also that I can fit my hand in. I can pretty much fit my hand inside his entire, form here. So if I'm thinking if these two fingers are going to be one hand and my thumb is going to be the other, and these two are going to be straight up, then I have pretty much enough room in there to kind of get my hand in and allow, the puppet to work with my fingers here. So I'm going to be doing is I cut out a whole bunch of strips that are longer than his waist here, so it's probably about 4 inches or so. You can always print out your own image of him at home and then kind of work from there, so you can make it really as small or as big as you want. So I have my strips of black duct tape that are about 5 inches long. I'm going to stick these together, and I'm really going to just make a simple sheet of tape here that's about as high as he is. So I got a few more strips, and then when I'm done with these, I'm going to cut out a few more and complete this giant piece of fabric, which I'll be making probably all the way down to right about there. So a few more strips, and then I'll have my completed sheet. So that's about the right size of the sheet right there. So once you get it to a good size, you can kind of compare it to your piece here. So that's going to work pretty well. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a whole bunch more of these black strips and I'm making an exact duplicate of this piece here because we really need 2 pieces to make kind of a pouch for you to make for your hand puppet. So I'm going to cut out probably 8 more strips, connect them together just like this, and make an exact duplicate of this sheet. So now I have my 2 sheets. They're pretty much almost exactly identical, but it's close enough, so I'll be working from there. So now I'm going to take my picture of Oogie here, and I'm going to take my hobby knife. I'm kind of just going to trace out this entire piece here. It doesn't have to be exactly the size of him. You can kind of just work with this. Not going to worry about his hands because that's simply, something I'm going to have to add on later. So we're going to have to cut some holes in the side of them. So I got the one side, I'm going to work on the bottom. Don't worry about his feet too much because you can just add those later if you want to. So all the way up to his head. And if my hobby knife was sharp enough, these should kind of just come right off here, but I might have to do a little bit of trimming. Yeah, so they're more or less coming off. So you can take off those entire pieces, and then once you have that piece, you can trace it onto your other piece, and now make sure they're exactly the same. So do that step now. Now once you get your 2 pieces cut out, we have to seal them up on the sides. And we are going to be having a small spot for the arms, but we'll just worry about that later for now. So we're going to make sure these are directly on top of each other. And to do a little trick for this, you can kind of just apply this on an angle. It's on too much of an angle for me to apply it straight like this. What we're going to do is we're going to make sure it's lined up. And we obviously can't just, stick this entire thing over. So what we're going to do is take my hobby knife, and my cat is talking in the background. So we're going to use this and kind of just allow a whole bunch of little pieces like that. Now what we're going to do is take each individual piece and kind of wrap it up like this. And this will allow it to kind of mold to the shape of the side of your hand puppet here. So just keep folding all these up and do the exact same thing for the other side. So there we have it connected on both sides. You definitely want to make sure that your hand can fit in it, which looks pretty good like that. You'll notice where your pinky is and where your thumb is, and that's kind of exactly where we're going to cut the holes for the arms. So we're going to kind of mark those sections. You can kind of just poke a little section with your hobby knife if you have one, or you can mark it with a pen. Just make sure you don't poke yourself. And then we're going to add the arms next. So that'll be our next step. So now I marked the pieces and I got these slits cut for the arms. So now what we're going to do is actually start working on the arms themselves out of duct tape. So Oogie Boogie doesn't exactly have arms per se. He has more like just like tentacles, which he uses in the movie. So what I did was I cut 2 strips of tape that are about 4 inches long. I cut 2, stuck them together, cut another 2, stuck them together just like that. I'm going to put them together like this, and I'm going to take my pair of scissors and I'm going to trim these out just a little bit and have them come to a point all the way at the end here. So that's one side, and I'm going to trim it just like this and have it come to a point once again. You can kind of round it off to make it look more like a point. Alright, so I'm going to throw those away. Now what I'm going to do is take 2 strips of tape and seal it in on each side, so we have pretty much, you know, an entire arm there. It'll be kind of like you can slip your finger into it. So once again, you're going to stick your hand into your puppet, and you're going to, let's see, I only had 2 fingers out before. So we're going to stick that on right about there. That'll give us an exact kind of area where it needs to be stuck down. So while it's on your finger there, you can kind of just take that and stick it on, just like that. And then you can take the other piece, and cut out another piece, and just attach it to the back, right about there. And if it's a little bit more, you can just kind of cover that up. It's not a huge issue, but if you really want to, you can do that. Kind of almost looks like a penguin hand if you've seen like the Batman movie, like the penguin. That's what it reminds me of. But now what we're going to do is kind of repeat this step so that we're going to have an exact duplicate here, and then we're going to attach that arm to the other side, and that's going to be pretty much the whole puppet, and then we're going to start covering it with things. Alright, so there I have it on the other side. Now what I did was I cut out a small strip of tape and kind of doubled it over and then kind of cut out his hat, which you can see up there. I'll admit it looks a little cheesy, but it'll look a little bit better when I cover it with some of the glow-in-the-dark tape here and kind of add his eyes and his mouth to the top here. So I'm going to cut out some of these strips. I'm just going to stick it directly on the top. Probably just going to put it on the front because I probably don't need it on the back. It's really just going to be a waste of this incredibly expensive glow-in-the-dark tape. So we're going to stick this tape all over the front here. Alright, so now hopefully with that glow-in-the-dark tape it looks a little bit more like him. You know, it's funny with the glow-in-the-dark tape, if I was using normal duct tape I wouldn't care about, you know, scraps and everything, but when I'm using the glow-in-the-dark tape, because it's so expensive, I'm like cutting off scraps and, you know, applying them in different places. You know, I'm just using like every single part of it. So now it wouldn't be Oogie Boogie without his face here, so I'm going to stick his mouth on here, and I just use, you know, my paper piece to cut these out with the hobby knife. So I'm going to stick that there. And now I'm not sure if my station is dark enough to be able to see this if I turn off my light, but we'll see if I can charge it up and show you what it looks like. Alright, so let's see how it works here. I turn off my light. Wow, it actually glows pretty well in the dark here, so I'll see if I can slip it on here. It definitely looks a lot more like Oogie Boogie with the glow-in-the-dark tape, that's for sure. So I'm going to puff up the arms a little bit. Seems like it may have gotten a little bit tighter somehow. It's probably because I used some of the glow-in-the-dark tape to kind of attach it to the sides. So working on sticking that in. There we go. So I think it's pretty cool, kind of a cool hand puppet here. Like I said, I will admit it is a little bit cheesy, but I thought it was a really cool Halloween thing. You can kind of wear them on your hands and everything. It doesn't have to be Oogie Boogie, of course. I just figured it was kind of the right blobby shape for Oogie Boogie. But you can make like any characters you want to, and you can kind of just, I don't know, walk around with these on your hands. You can tell the backside definitely isn't the glow-in-the-dark tape, but I think it's pretty cool. And if you're able to afford the glow-in-the-dark tape, you can definitely use it to create some really cool Halloween themed hand puppets. Alright, so I think that's pretty much going to wrap up this video on making a Halloween hand puppet featuring Oogie Boogie, of course. Like I said, definitely try to, you know, make these into any kind of characters you want to. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this Halloween themed tutorial, and I'll catch you next time on the channel. Roar!